I am Reni, also known as Reni the Resource, and I create financial literacy content, travel content, and lifestyle content. And the reason I create it is because I want to make very complex topics simple for people.
What you put out there, it's really impactful and have a lot of value to not only me, I think probably thousands or maybe millions of people watching you on all the platforms.
Yeah, I've known about investing. I've been investing since I was 18 years old. So I invested in Shopify very early on, and every 2 weeks, instead of putting money in the bank stocks, I would just buy stocks of Shopify. And Shopify was maybe around $100 to $200 at the time. So at the time I sold it in 2020, it was around $1,200 per share. My portfolio was around $60,000 at the time. And I'm only 22 years old at that time.
Wow.
And I work with a lot of people. I have an accountability group with 170 people in it right now. And we have done one-on-ones and group calls with them. And what I see is people are either extremely scared of credit to the point where they don't get credit at all, or they
overuse it.
Exactly. Or they think it's free money, right? Obviously, looking back, I can say that I was very privileged. I am very privileged, and I'm grateful for that education. You yourself, the way you explain things, the personal lived experience you bring, that is what differentiates you from other people.
I know we've been having conversation for like probably going to 1 hour now, I would say, yeah. Is there anything, Reni, that you think I did not ask you, that you think my guests are supposed to know about, that will help them with their finances, with their career, with their business, that you think, Aziz, why don't you ask me this? This would be useful. Reni, thank you so much for, accepting my invitation to be on my podcast. I know a lot of people might know you, and I know some of my audience might not know who you are. On your website, you describe yourself as someone that creates content that are informative without judgment. I know I get to know you through your content. I get to learn what you do and how you help people. But I want to know, what kind of content do you create? What makes you be able to create that kind of content? Who are you? I want you to tell my audience or people that are listening now, who is Reni?
Okay, thank you for having me, by the way. I am Reni, also known as Reni the Resource, and I create financial literacy content, travel content, and lifestyle content. And the reason I create it is because I want to make very complex topics simple for people.
Which is really important.
Yeah, I feel like, especially financial literacy, right? It's something that most people were never taught about in school. Their parents were not able to teach them about it. But I feel like I had a leg up because my parents taught me about financial literacy since I was 4 years old.
Oh my goodness.
So
you got a whole university in your house.
Literally. So by the time I was 23, that was in 2020, a lot of people, stuff happened. I bought a house. There's a lot of stuff that happened. But basically, I thought, I know about investing. I've known about investing. I've been investing since I was 18 years old. Why don't I just start sharing about this in an easy to understand way that isn't like an older white gentleman talking to you about this topic? And it felt very relatable to, that's who I would love to learn from. I would like to learn from someone like me. So yeah, I just started making content 5 years ago, and it's been.
I like the way you describe it though. Mm-hmm. You said you want to make it simple. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of content. Obviously, the internet is flooded with a lot of content. A lot of them are really good. Some of them are just, to create content and views.
Yeah.
But as I told you before we started recording, I've been watching you going to 4 years now. I've never even reached out to you or messaged you, or maybe I just comment on a few of your videos. Mm-hmm. But I can see something different in what you create. I've seen you talk about the government. I think there was a time you went to Ottawa. You let people. Your video make me understand how they make legislation in this country. I'm like, wow, this is great. Yeah. And as you said, you make it simple. But you create content about financing, about career, about business. But you do travel businesses, videos as well, which we're going to talk about as well. The next question I want to ask you is you being able to buy property at the age of 23. Mm-hmm. I think I watched that video about 3 years ago, and on your YouTube. I like the way you explain how you did it. You went you talk to your agents. I'm a real estate agent as well, and I can see the process. But I want you to buying a house in this country is one of the biggest tasks for people, and it's probably one of the biggest achievements you can achieve, except if you buy a private jet. So, because it's probably going to be more expensive than your own. Mm-hmm. I want you to walk my listener to how did you do it at the age of 23, being able to buy your own first property? I've watched the video. I think I've learned a few things of how you did it. But I want you to tell people, how did you actually buy your first property at the age of 23?
Okay, so I've been investing in the stock market since I was 18 years old.
Okay. 5 years to that.
Exactly.
Now, right?
And my dad was very instrumental in my sister and I both investing. Basically, he was my accountability partner before that was even a thing. And every 2 weeks, so I was working at like minimum wage job, working at a shoe store at the time while also going to university. And every 2 weeks, my dad would say, okay, how much have you invested this week? How much have you invested? I'm like, Dad, I'm making pennies. Like, I'm not making much, but he didn't care because I'm living under his roof. I'm not paying rents. You have no mortgage. So where's your money
where's
going?
the money going, right?
So he said, so every 2 weeks I would put like $200 into the stock market.
Wow.
And of course, we know the value of
Every 2
compounding.
weeks?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I know even some adults now don't do that, right? But I was 18 years old putting like $200 every 2 weeks. Every time I got paid, I would put money into the stock market. And my dad would have me screenshots that I've done it. I'd have to send the screenshot to him. And my sister would have to do the same thing when she turned 18. So at that time, my dad would tell me about different stocks. So he would teach me about stocks and about first I started off at bank stocks, which don't grow much, but they're pretty stable, and they're a good start to your portfolio. And then when I think it maybe 2014, 2015, I'm not sure, Shopify was public, and that was a company that my dad read about, and he was like, this is going to be the next big company. Invest in this company.
Oh my
I was
God.
like, okay, whatever, Dad, sure. So I did it. I listened to him because he hasn't led me astray so far. So I listened to him.
And you probably might see the result of what he has done before as well.
And also, I think the good thing about that he did was he's very open. He would share about his portfolio with my sister and I. So he would show us the growth. Most parents, you don't know how much they make, you don't know how much they spend, you don't know anything. But my dad would show us his investment portfolio. And my mom also would say, if you want to live this life where you're able to go on vacation every year, you need to invest in the stock market, or you need to save, or you need to make good money. So I feel like they've taught me from a very early age. So I invested in Shopify very early on. And every 2 weeks, instead of putting money in the bank stocks, I would just buy stocks of Shopify. And Shopify was maybe around $100 to $200 at the time. So I would get like one stock every 2 weeks. It wasn't much, but it was growing very rapidly because they were a baby company at the time.
And how much is the stock now?
So at the time I sold it in 2020, it was around $1,200 per share. So as you can tell, like it 5x'd, every single stock 5x. And that was 5 years of accumulating stocks in addition to other stocks. So by the time my portfolio, let's go back to 2019, my portfolio was around $60,000 at the time, and I'm only 22 years old at that time.
Wow.
And my dad asked me one day, how's Shopify doing for you? And I was like, I never check my investment portfolio. I just buy
And leave it there.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, oh, it's actually doing really well. I told him I have $60,000. Wow. He's like, oh, okay, you should buy a house. And I was like, no, why would I buy a house? I was just like, I live in your house rent free.
Okay, and let me be here forever,
exactly.
Right?
I was like, why would I be moving out and buying a house? I just didn't understand his logic. And he was like, no, you don't have to move out. You just have to, you can rent out the house to other people. I was like, okay, Dad. Like, again, he hasn't led me astray. So I was like, okay, Dad, fine. But I dilly-dally, like I was not active or proactive at all at that time. So he called up his real estate agent and he was like, hey, Reni's ready to buy a house. Can you come over or start sending her listings? So he started to send me listings. Honestly, I ignored them for a long time.
I have a lot of my clients that are ignoring now, but I know they will come around in a few
for months and months and months. I would just ignore. And then my dad one day was like, you're wasting his time. What are you doing? And I was like, okay, fine. So then I was like, okay, I would respond to some of the listings. Okay. I like this. And the agent decided to take me on some showings, basically. So we went to Kitchener, we went to London and Waterloo as well.
That's great.
Yeah. And then he showed me properties, and honestly, I was over the process before it even started. So I was like, this is great. Let's go with this one. It's within my budget. Oh, I also went to get my pre-approval, of course, before that. And I worked at the bank at the time. So I did that whole process. And then, yeah, we were going on these showings. I was like, yeah, this is great. It's within my budget. He told me the rent will be about this much. Cool. And afterwards, he would be like, no, I don't think so. look at this roof. Actually, it's going to be, he's been in the game for a while. So he was like, this roof, you're going to have to replace it in like 2 years. I don't
Your
think.
agent or your dad?
My agent.
Okay.
Yeah. He was like, you're going to have to replace it in about 2 years. I don't think you should go for this. And he was just very upfront with me. So eventually he showed me a new build, which was a pre-construction property, had not yet finished. And it was going to be finishing in the next year, 2020. Okay. So yeah, I put my money down in 2019, and then the next year, 2020, it closed. So that's the process of how I bought my house.
I want to know, because you see, apart from being able to have the money, the down payment, I have probably 5 of my network or clients now that they have the money to buy real estate now. Their first home, they've saved up like $150,000. They have a family, they can buy something, but they see the money they are putting down as like, this money is going. They didn't see that we're getting a property.
Yeah.
Right. I'm an investor. I always like investment property first, right? But there is a feeling of when you buy that real estate, when you're about to buy and when you buy. Were you very scared and worried about, is this the right decision? And when you finally get it, you rent it out. Tell me that feeling. How do you feel at that time?
I think I was a bit nervous because, as you said, I like seeing the cash in my account. Like now I'm basically starting my portfolio from zero again. But I'm not actually. I would just put it in another asset, right? Asset. But at the time I was just like, oh my God, my money is going.
My $60,000 is going.
So it was a bit nerve wracking for me.
Okay.
But my parents, I've seen them invest in real estate over the years, and I've seen the returns that they've gotten by selling those properties. So I wasn't so scared that I didn't go through with it, obviously. And when I first got my tenant, I felt like, so I used a real estate agent to get my tenant as well. Okay. So
which is good, because we know how to look at,
exactly,
probably the red flag. It doesn't mean you won't have some bad tenants, but
exactly,
at least you will lower the risk.
Exactly. And I was very much like, I don't want any students in my property. I only want to rent to a family. And that's exactly what I got. Obviously, I bought in London, Ontario, which is a university town. There is Western, there's Fanshawe, they have a bunch of colleges and universities, but then they also have an area which is a lot of hospitals, right? And there are a lot of nurses and people who make good income. So that's who I
take care of your property, because it's very important.
Exactly. So I rented to a family, and they stayed for 1 year, and now I have a second family who's been there for the 4 years after that. And hopefully they just continue to stay there. They take care of the house like it's their baby, which is great.
That is really most important thing. A lot of people don't want to even invest in Ontario because apart from going through with the tenants, there is a chance that, with our province, we have low... We don't really protect the landlord as much as we should do.
At all.
Okay?
Yeah.
A lot of your content, people that might relate with it, I know young people of your age, people of my age. I'm not that old, so don't think I'm that old, right? So we're going to relate to your content. But I think there is a group of people that will find your content very important for them. Immigrants. They're moving to this country. You're from Nigeria. I mean, I know you were born here, but we are both from Nigeria. People come from Africa, from India, from other countries, and they want to know, how can I get started in Canada? So walk me through the process. I'm an immigrant that I'm about to move into Canada in the next 30 days. And I send you an email and say, hey, Reni, what should I do? What will you say I should do in my first 6 months that will lay a very good foundation for me for my next 2 years in this country?
You know what I would tell them? I would tell them that I have a playlist called The Newcomer's Guide to Canada.
Okay.
And I would tell them to watch that playlist because I go through everything in that playlist. I talk about, your opening a bank account, which I think is very important, how to choose the right bank account. I even talk about finding your first place and like how to not get scammed by landlords.
Wow.
I talk about opening your first credit card. So I would literally tell them to watch that. But if they're not going to watch it, what I would tell them is, I think the first thing is just the mindset shift where you have to let go of how things work back home,
where you're coming from,
and
right?
adapt to how things work here. It's just I don't know, it depends on where they're coming from, but if you're moving from Nigeria to Canada, for example,
it's totally different.
It's completely different. And
a lot of people don't know, or they don't take that into consideration.
Yes.
Right?
And one thing a lot of people do is they're always converting, right? They're seeing, okay, what do you mean this costs 50,000 naira? In Nigeria, I could get this for 20,000 naira. And it's like, we're not in Nigeria anymore. The cost of living is different. The earning potential is also different. So if you're constantly converting, I don't know, it's not doing you it's not helpful to you. So I would say the first thing is just getting that mindset shift. Second thing would be trying to understand the financial system here, right? So how does banking work here? How does the credit system work here? I think the credit system is one of the most important things you can understand, because as we know, it impacts everything that you do here. It impacts your ability to even rent a house, to get a car loan.
Don't even talk about rental.
To buy
it's more
a house.
difficult to rent a property in Canada than to get Canadian visa. I'm being honest with you.
Really?
I'm in business, yes.
Really?
If you want to rent now, even if you have the money, and you're new in the country,
oh yeah,
even if you want to pay 6 months, landlords still see you as a risk.
Yeah. And I understand from a landlord's point of view, but it's hard. So that's why building their credit from the very beginning is something that they should prioritize. And I work with a lot of people. I have an accountability group with 170 people in it right now. And we have done one-on-ones and group calls with them. And what I see is people are either extremely scared of credit to the point where they don't get credit at all, or they
overuse it.
Exactly. Or they think it's free money, right? And it's neither of those. It's not scary. It's not free money. It is a tool that you can use to build your financial future in this country. So I wish more people knew that and understood that.
I wish, honestly. And just to follow up on what you just said now, I know you have that group which is a business for you now, to help people to kind of structure their finances or to kind of get started in saving and investing. What is the most common mistakes that you see within this community? Because I know you know, as we content creators, we share a lot of success. I've seen on your social media, you share how much, and even in your newsletter, which is very informative, by the way.
Thank you.
I've seen you on your newsletter, you talking about how much you're able to help people to save, or how much debt you're able to help them clear. These are data that are very important.
Yes.
But there's something that you would have seen repeatedly, that this is what people do that make them be in this position or not being able to save or invest. What are the common things that you see? You've mentioned that, being scared of credit or overusing it. Is there any other thing else that you see?
I honestly think one of the biggest issues is people just don't track how much they spend and how much they earn. And because they don't know how much they spend or earn each month, then they are living beyond their means, right? So if you have, let's say, a credit card, and let's say you make $3,000 a month, but you're also spending $3,100 a month.
Yes.
You don't really realize it because you're using your credit card. So it's allowing you to, the timing is different on the payment. So
it's just $100.
Yeah. But then the 100 turns into 200, turns into 300, yes. And you're not paying it off every single month. And that's where the issue lies. But when I sit down with people and we actually track how much they're spending each month, 99% of them are shocked that they spend this much money every single month because they've simply not tracked it. But once they have that awareness, it's like, oh, okay, now I can see that, maybe I'm spending $500 a month eating out. There's rice at home, so let me spend $350. And that just cutting down that $150 can save them a lot of money. So I think it's the awareness that people need to have about what's going in and out of their account. And the second thing, another thing I see is hoarding money.
Okay.
Yeah. So that people
trying to protect it, like, no.
Yes.
I mean, is that what you mean, right?
Exactly. So they're saving. I've seen people with $100,000 saved. Recently, I found someone with $840,000 saved. I met with her one-on-one.
800.
Yes.
And please, does he or she have a lot of real estate or invest in anything?
None. Yeah. None. Yeah. So I convinced her to invest $700 of it, and now she's gonna do that every 2 weeks. So thankfully, we've started. But imagine she's had this money. She's just been hoarding this money, and it happens more than we'd like to think. So I think that's another thing. People don't understand investing, so instead of seeking out the knowledge to understand it, they instead
don't want to even hear about it.
They're just like, I don't want any risk associated with this cash that I have, right? And it often, like, I took this trauma of money course, and I realized that money is very emotional and tied to your upbringing, your childhood. Like, a lot of people, if you just ask enough questions, you will
because
see.
You can change whatever you went through when you were young. I'm not saying it's not going to kind of shape your life in a little bit of way, but things can change if you learn about it. And
yes,
I know you're about to finish your thought there. The thing you mentioned, that people have the money, they're kind of protecting it. it's shocking because recently I've been having conversation with clients that I think they couldn't buy because they have no savings. There's one guy that will play, because I play football. We play football together, and we started having conversation. And I get to know that this guy have about $280,000, and he's still scared of investing in real estate. And some of it come from the negative news sells faster, and all this news media, they know how to promote that. When they see it, stock went down 40%, real estate went down 20%. They never talk about someone that bought real estate in 2025. If you buy real estate in 2015, whatever you buy would have doubled by now. But it's not in 1 year. It's in a decade.
Takes time.
People don't want to talk about that. And that creates fear. And that's why you should know the kind of content you're going to consume. And that's why I like your content a lot, because you break things down. It's not that we are not scared, even we are invested. But we just have to learn the risk and then know where you can, stomach the
exactly, yeah, and have a long-term view, right?
That's the most important thing. If you don't have a long-term view about what you're investing in, I think it's going to be very scary.
Yes, extremely. That's why I don't day trade. I don't short-term trade, because I don't have the stomach to handle those little ups and downs, right? I think most people don't, but they are hearing that they want to make quick money. Their goal is to make quick money. Yes, and quick money, I don't know. It's a good way to lose money.
It is the good way. Oh, my friend bought a property in 2019 and sold it in 2023 for $400,000 profit. Like, hey,
the market has changed a little bit.
That's a crazy market.
Yes.
The COVID, the 1-2 year post-COVID is a kind of market that I don't think we're going to see that for the next probably 2, 3, 4 years. So, and if you're basing your judgment on that, then you're doing it in the very wrong way. Let me come back to your parents. And I really want to talk about them, because it's obvious that they are a very big part of your growth of what you are, right? What you have or what you're doing right now. But walk me through how it feels to grow up in a household that's you already see what you're doing. Your dad, I've seen some of his videos now. He's probably going to be invited to this podcast as well.
I'm sure
now I have his daughter. Dad, I have your daughter here. You're going to come to the podcast as well. I've seen some of his video, and I see that he kind of educates young immigrant, maybe a little bit older than our age, to know when you're moving to this country, don't start from the top. Start from the ground up. Build something from the ground up. How does it feel as his daughter or your mom as well to grow up around such household that you don't need to, you really have some sort of mentorship right from the beginning? How does it feel? What do you think? Because when I watch your video now and I watch his video,
it makes sense.
I obviously know why your passion to educate people about finances, about career, about business. Walk me through that feeling growing up in that household.
I feel like when you grow up there, you don't know any different, right? It just seems like the norm. So I didn't.
It's not the norm. You know that now.
Now I know. But growing up, it just seemed like, my dad likes to teach, and he likes to teach not just my sister and I, but his brothers, all learn about financial literacy, his friends. Like when they come over, they're talking about stocks. My dad I don't think that man watches TV. He just, BNN is what is on the TV, And so I feel like it just was the norm for me growing up. Obviously, looking back, I can say that I was very privileged. I am very privileged, and I'm grateful for that education. But honestly, like growing up, it was just like how my parents were. Yeah. And I think when I went to university, I was talking to one of my friends, and typically in university here, there are banks on campus, especially on the first week, right?
They want to kind of educate you and that kind of recruit you before you finish.
Yeah, I don't think they're educating. I think they're just trying to tell you, hey,
they're giving you credit card.
Okay, come join our, whatever. So I took the credit card, but I was knowledgeable because my parents taught me about credit before. And one day I was talking to one of my friends who I also grew up with. We grew like very similar upbringings, except our parents, of course. And she was telling us, she was saying that, you only need to pay the minimum balance on your credit card every month. And I was like, no, I don't think that's true. And she was like, yeah, it is. My mom told me. And I was like, So I went home and I asked my dad, and my dad was like, no, that is not true. Do not listen to her.
That is the wrong
And I think
information.
that's when it clicked that, everyone does not have the same upbringing when it comes to finances and just getting mentored. Because if your parents are not financially literate, they can't teach you to be financially literate, right? So I just think I grew up in a very privileged environment where maybe it's not like my parents were extremely rich at that point, but we were rich in knowledge. They had moved twice. So that my parents moved from Canada to England, and then when I was 4 years old, we moved from England to Canada. Yeah. So not Canada to England, Nigeria to England, and then England to Canada.
Okay.
Yeah. So they had to restart twice and teach themselves everything. So my dad always said he didn't want his daughters to have to do the same and like learn once they were adults. He wanted to make sure that we had the knowledge.
That's very important. I've lived in 2 countries now. I should say even 3. Because I studied in Ukraine, so I can speak, read, and write Russian.
Wow.
So I studied in Ukraine, then I lived in Dubai for about 7 and a half years. And now
So
I'm
4 countries now.
Yeah, I mean Nigeria. Okay.
Yeah.
I always feel like that's home. Right? So 4 countries, yeah. And I know what it means to restart. Yeah. You understand? When I moved to Canada, my restarting was not as hard as Dubai because I visited Canada 3 times before moving. So I kind of know the country like, okay, can I live here? Then before, I think I visited Canada 2 times before I applied for my PR from Dubai. So I know what it means to kind of restart. But it is not easy. A lot of people out there hates immigrant. I watched one of your dad's video about how he have to start from. He wasn't looking at the most beautiful house as his first home. We kind of do it from the ground up. And that's one mistake that people have. You mentioned that people come from Nigeria. Back home, majority of the people you visited the country now, we have big houses.
Huge.
Like huge that if you own such house here, you're talking about $4 million. But it's not that expensive to build. And some of us, we build the house for 3, 4, 5 years. We're not in a hurry, not like here. So people come with that mindset and say, I have to start with a big house. And when you start that way, you're not going to grow.
It hurts a lot of people because they want to start from
the top.
Here. Yes.
There's no room to grow if you're starting from the top. So.
Yes. And I often see people buying beyond their means, right? They're buying at the top.
Should I talk about 2 of my clients? No, don't let me say that.
Buying at the top of their budget, right? Or beyond their budget.
Above their budget.
Yes.
Above what it can really stomach. And
I've seen it. My mom's a real estate lawyer, right? So I hear the stories a lot. Yeah, it's not good. And I see it even with people who I work with, especially when we do that one-on-one. Like, their mortgage payment, okay, maybe they can stomach the mortgage payment, but the house is not just the mortgage payment.
It's not.
It's the mortgage, maintenance, their property taxes. There's a lot that goes into it. So,
and the type of mortgage you get. Because you
variable.
People that got variable for many years, they get hurt a lot when the market went up. And it's not that variable is bad, but at least you should understand it before getting into it.
Yes.
Let's talk about your travel content, your vlog and everything. Just to let you know, I follow you a lot. I've watched your Brazil video. I think you at one point you live in Thailand or studied there.
Yes.
So I've seen you go into a lot of countries, Europe and everything. I like traveling. I mean, I don't have enough chance or time to travel as much yet, but with the conversation we've been having, you should know that I've kind of traveled around the world a little bit as well. Which country out of everywhere you've been to that you feel like this is my favorite, I can live here? And why, actually?
Funny enough, I love Nigeria.
I love Nigeria too. Come on.
Like, of all the places, I feel at home. Obviously, I feel at home in Nigeria.
That's the only place I can sleep 8 hours without any motivation or trying to force myself to sleep.
Yeah, like I really love Nigeria. But aside from Nigeria, I would say Rwanda or Colombia. I really enjoyed both of them. Yeah. So I've been to Rwanda 4 times, I believe, at this point, and it's been a really great. It's just calm, It's peaceful. It's safe. It feels like a calm place to live. I also really like Colombia. I've been to Colombia 3 times now, and same thing. I think because, there are Black people there as well. So it's not like you stand out or anything. Oftentimes when you travel, you are the one Black person in the room. Exactly. Yeah. But in Colombia, there are, unless you speak, then that's when they will know that you're not from there. Yeah. But yeah, so I've been to both those countries and I really enjoy it.
Don't worry about that. My other question about traveling, because we obviously know the media will spin everything they want to spin about any country, right? I saw it on Canada.ca that if you're going to Dubai, this is on the website, except if they take it down yesterday, you should be worried about, you could be raped in Dubai. You could, if you're a woman, be sure because it's not safe. If you have to go to court, you're not going to get good judgment. And this is a country I lived for 7 years.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, where did they get these details?
And when I visited, I felt very safe there.
No,
safer than here.
That's what I want to ask. If my wife or any of my friends wants to go out at 1 a.m.,
yeah,
I'm not scared.
No.
But here, if my family is not back home at 9 o'clock, I'm already scared, like, hey. But you never see other country kind of portraying that. Which country do you go to that, like, people say this place is not safe, but when you get there, you're like, is this the same country? I
actually think it's Colombia. You know, in the media, Colombia has a bad reputation. They associate it with substances, you know, and I don't know what. Well, I haven't experienced it. I've been there.
It could be there, but it's not the way they describe it, right?
It's not like they act like you get to the airport and then someone's offering you like a gram or something, you know. So I think Colombia is one that the first time I went with my friend, and we arrived at maybe 1 a.m. Like, it was very late, and this is when I used to post in real time. So I posted on my story, like, boarding the flight to Colombia, and the messages that I had received by the time I landed, I was scared. They were like, "Oh my gosh, you're gonna get kidnapped." Like, like on the Uber ride to our Airbnb, I was very nervous. But after going that time, then 2 times after, I've realized that it's a very safe country, and the media just portrays it as and even, you know, movies, especially you know, Pablo, whatever, that's how they portray it. But even speaking to people who live there, they speak about how they hate how they are represented in movies like Griselda and Pablo and stuff like that. Narcos, it is, because they're just like, this is not our reality, and they actually hate those people. You know, those are criminals in their country. So I
think you know, you touching on social media now, on how negativity travels faster on social media. I want to ask you, my last guest here, and an amazing person as well. She spoke a lot about the online bullying and you know, any negative thing they want to write about you. As a content creator, you are very big on YouTube, you know, on Instagram. I would expect that. Did you get a lot of hate messages, negative bullying, threats on anything that you do online? Because I get it. You probably might get some from people that want to say, as this is not a good person, don't do business with him. You're gonna get that for sure. They're gonna see you on my social now, and I like when they do that, because one, since a lot of, you know, dark. Not that like I love negativity, but the more they do it, the more I kind of like my business and get bigger. But do you get that kind of negativity as well?
I don't. Funny enough, my community is very positive.
Okay.
So it's not like anybody in my community is ever saying anything negative towards me. But there are a few situations where I get negative comments.
Of your content, right?
Yeah. Like if it reaches outside of my community. So first one is life insurance. Anytime I talk about life insurance, and I talk about how I think term life insurance is the ideal type of life insurance for the average person, and I think that, you know, certain people push whole life insurance or permanent life insurance because it benefits their pockets. So I talk about that often, and that's when I get like people from these different companies or sales reps who come in my DMs or in my comments. So that's the first one. The second one would be sometimes when I travel, I'm very blunt in my opinions, and sometimes people don't like that. Fair enough. I went to Ethiopia recently, and in Ethiopia, the airline, I had a bad experience. They served us like rotten bananas on the plane. The air hostesses were very rude, so I simply said that on my story, and my videos reached Ethiopia, and like, it was bad. They don't think they're black for some reason, so they were saying they were calling us names. And I was like, aren't we all black? I was confused.
Let me tell you the truth. You mentioned it, and I'm not trying to throw Ethiopian airline. I mean, I will tell you the truth. A lot of people will hate it anyways. Ethiopian airline is actually an airline that I don't think I'll ever fly on.
Me either. Ever. It was a horrible experience.
Well, I flew it like 2-3 times. The third time, which was the final time, I couldn't find a flight. They were supposed to buy me. It was the company I was working with in Dubai. They were supposed to buy me Emirates, but for whatever reason, they couldn't. Actually, they still gave me some part of the money and say, hey, this is what we bought for you, but get the remainder of the money. So they bought the flight. But I don't like, I've traveled with them twice. There's something with their service and there's something with their plane that I personally don't like.
Horrible.
I was going to Nigeria, and I'm not trying to scare people, honestly. I felt like the plane is going to drop when we reach Nigeria. I think I messaged, I was like, that's the time the 30 minutes time that because when we enter Nigeria to reach Lagos, like 30 minutes. I prayed the highest in my entire life. I didn't say a single word except just reading Quran, just saying, just God, please don't let me die now. Like it's scary.
Yeah, I didn't.
And their service is like horrible. When the plane doesn't do that, they're just like. I feel like they just want you to fly, go, get out of the plane and come back again.
Yeah.
We don't have any
service. It was not a great experience. So that's the second experience that I had, or the second time I got hate. And then the last one would be, I recently searched my name on Reddit for some reason, and I saw there's this page of like influencer hate. Like it's an influencer hate subreddit on
what?
Yes. So my name was there.
I don't think my name was there.
My name was there, and this girl said that I'm a fraud, right? And I was like, oh, interesting. So I decided to read it. And their rationale was that I 5 years ago said that I bought a house, but 2 years ago I said that I opened my FHSA, so I'm a fraud. And I was like, where's the correlation? And there were multiple people saying, yeah, she said, and I was like, guys, my property is a rental property.
Yes.
And
that's what they don't know.
And my FHSA, but it's in the video. Like
they don't watch video
like
that. They watch the part they want to use to attack you.
And then the FHSA is for
for first home, like
exactly,
your residence,
my
you want to live.
principal residence. So I obviously didn't respond to it, but I was just like, this is very interesting. Like, but again, that hate is unfounded. I don't take it to heart or anything.
Are these people like,
it's all anonymous.
Ocean 2.1. It's always like they don't put their pictures.
Exactly. They're all anonymous.
They like there's one of my the person I brought to the podcast the other day, the lady I brought here, she told me that the hatred was so bad that she created a video on a community about real estate and say things about why she loved the community and everything. And the media spin the video. She actually ended up on, I think, Toronto News. They pick it up that the video they created for her or spin around on TikTok got like 5 million views or something. God. And they actually threat her life. She have to kind of take the lawyer into it and the law enforcement.
Crazy online.
I just think, the hatred that is online, but I try to look beyond that negativity because as much as I'm saying a lot of hate messages, people have reached out to me because they like what I create, they like my content, they like my business, they want to buy real estate. So I have to look at those positive things and just ignore the negativity. And, I always want to hear from, content creator like you and ask that question. Let me go to you being a business owner because what you're doing now is a business, right? Mm-hmm. Helping people to get their finances right. And I want to connect it with your content creation business as well. I read something on, I believe it's on your website or one of your, online presence that talk about how a program that YouTube organized changed your life and you were invited to. I want you to tell people that want to start their YouTube journey today or content creation journey today. How does that YouTube program helped you, and what would you say to Reni today if she's starting a new knowing what you know now, you're starting your journey on this business, on this content creation, on this financing education? What would you say? And what does that program mean to you, the YouTube program?
So the YouTube program is YouTube Black, and I was in it.
Is it still there? Are they still doing it?
No, they actually stopped.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
they should look at what they created with that program and continue, right?
I know, but so it was in 2020. So in 2020, I launched my YouTube channel. Almost 5 years now. So May 17, 2020, and I launched my YouTube channel, and it was going well. I was talking about a topic that very people were interested in, and obviously it was COVID as well. So people were at home watching videos, and I started teaching about my financial literacy journey, how I bought my house, And then by September of 2020, I was monetized on YouTube, meaning that I had 1,000 subscribers at least and 4,000 watch hours. So I was able to make money from YouTube now. I made my first $100 in September, and I was so happy. I was like, wow, this is the best money I've ever made. And it was just like, obviously $100 in the grand scheme of things is not that much, but it just was symbolic of the fact that I can make money by putting something out by myself, not my 9 to 5, right? So I made that first $100, and then by 2021 June, I had made $3,000 like in June, I made $3,000. No, that month I made $3,000.
That month alone, $3,000.
And from YouTube, and then I had a brand deal, and then I had affiliate income as well.
Okay,
So
that's
all of those combined, I had about $3,000, and I was like, oh, okay. Like at BMO, I was working at the time, I was making around like 3,000, 3,500 a month. So I was like, I might as well quit my job to pursue this. But obviously, I did not quit my job yet. I took some time and I was thinking about it, but then I was really burnt out, and I was just like, let me quit this job. And if YouTube doesn't work out, then I can always just get another job. So by October 1st, 2021, I quit my job and I pursued content creation full time. On October 5th or so, I found out I was in the YouTube Black program, which is a accelerator program for Black creators across the world. And I was one of, I think, 5 or 6 chosen in Canada. And there were 197 of us across the world. So it was and I was
a very closed community.
And I was the smallest of all of the creators in it. So I think I had 20K at the time, or 10K. Like I was definitely the smallest of every single creator there, but they saw something in me. They also gave us grants money. They gave us mentorship for 2 years or 3 years. Like it just ended in December. So it's been an amazing opportunity, and it changed my YouTube career because they connected me with different people. I was able to go on TV multiple times. They flew me out to Atlanta for some it was just great. So I credit a lot of my success to them. Obviously you have to put in the effort, but it really helps to have YouTube itself on
sponsoring that.
Yeah, exactly. And for our new creators who are looking to start, I would say you don't know if you like it or if you're good at it until you actually start. Yeah, people ask me for like, oh, what can I do? I'm like, you need to start.
Or they will tell you, how long does it take you to start making money on YouTube?
I'm like,
you get that question.
Yes, too, right? And I'm like, it depends on you and how your videos do. Like, there's no set formula to excelling on social media, and you have to realize that you are the differentiating factor. Like, you know, there are 10 million people who talk about finance online. You yourself, the way you explain things, the personal lived experience you bring, that is what differentiates you from other people.
And that's the same thing I tell people. You know, they ask, oh, you're doing, especially the podcast, you know, this is going to be the 25th episode, and I started less than 2 years, like 16 months now or so. My goal was to do one podcast every month, right? And my initial goal, so I've done more than one podcast a month now. My initial goal was not to say how much do I want to make from the podcast, because if you start from I need to make money, you're not going to do it.
No.
And when people ask me how much have you made, I always don't want to answer the question. I just say, is how much do I love it? Do I enjoy it? But if I want to answer you about the money, I've been in, which is the first time I after like 9 episodes, I had a buyer consultation. You know, as an agent, I had the first buyer consultation with my client to talk about the process. And I talk about the process, and I want to start talking about myself. And the gentleman, Timmy, shout out to Timmy, he's one of my biggest supporters. He was like, no, Aziz, don't tell me more about yourself. I've watched 4 episodes of your podcast. And I look back at my video get only 100 views on YouTube. And I'm like, this guy is one of those 100 people. And the fact that I helped him to buy his first real estate in Canada, and I made commission from it. So when people ask me, I'm like, oh, $14,000 is what I've made from it. Like, if that's what you want, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's a lead magnet, right? Yeah.
Obviously, now I've had more people connected to me. I have one of them. I'm going to help him to buy property actually within a month as well from that content. So if you don't start with, let me see if I love it. Obviously, my first 5 podcast episode, I was like, do I love this thing or not?
Yeah.
But now it's like my little baby that I really love. Like this space of mine to say this is my podcast, and I'm able to have amazing people like you. It's more than anything for me. It's more than how many people that watch it on YouTube or 100%. Listen on Spotify.
Yeah.
I know we've been having conversation for like probably going to 1 hour now, I would say, yeah. Is there anything, Reni, that you think I did not ask you, that you think my guests supposed to know about, that will help them with their finances, with their career, with their business, that you think, Aziz, why don't you ask me this? This would be useful.
A lot of people ask me how I make money as a content creator, like because that's something that people think, oh, it's just brand deals, but
that's why they will call you fraud as well.
Yeah.
You're just bragging. You don't have the money.
If only they knew. If only they knew.
If they know that you can't be traveling if you don't make money.
Yes,
you need money to do that.
You do. Or they think someone's funding your life or
Yes.
something, which, not. I wish. But yeah, a lot of people ask me about how I make money as a content creator. I like to tell them about the different streams of income that I have. So from this business that I have, like obviously I have my investments and stuff, but aside from that, from this content creation business, I have maybe 6 streams of income. So the first thing is, of course, brand deals. Brand deals are like when a brand says, hey, Reni, we would like to sponsor a video on your channel or a reel on Instagram, and we will pay you $7,000 for a reel. And that is one of the main ways that I make money. I've made 6 figures for the past few years just from brand deals. So that is the main way. And the reason people will pay you for that is because they want to connect with your audience. I have a very engaged audience where if I'm selling, they're probably buying, So I may not have the biggest following because I definitely don't.
But people engage in your video.
Exactly.
I see that.
So I have what I have is conversion, right? If somebody is what we call Reni rated, where like I put my stamp of approval on them, then they are likely to get clients from my video or whatever I'm promoting for them. So that's the first way that I make money. And I've worked with brands like the Canadian Blood Services, Wealth Simple, TD Bank,
yes.
EQ Bank. Like I've worked with dozens of brands at this time. Aeroplan is another one that I work with regularly. So that's the first stream of income. Second stream of income would be where I do affiliate income. Same thing. Because people trust my recommendations, I often will give an affiliate link where it's like, okay, this is a product that I recommend. Click on this link or use my coupon code and you will get a discount or whatever. And I will get a commission from that.
I've shared your Wet Simple link with someone.
Oh, thank you.
I said, okay, just use this link. I've seen it on our profile.
So that's an example where, for example, with Wealth Simple, they get $50 if they use my link. I also will get $50 when they use my link. So that's great for both of us, I do that. And I don't really make dedicated content to these brands anymore, but maybe I'll make a video and I'll mention Wealth Simple in it. And then I'll be like, use a link in my bio if you want to sign up. So same thing. It's very easy for me. And every month I make a few, like either from, I would say 1,000 or so is what I typically make from affiliate income per month. Then I also have speaking engagements. So I speak at a lot of different organizations. Okay. So far this year, I've done 18 different speaking engagements.
This year?
Yes. And I'm slowing down. Don't worry. I'm not
We're in April now, right?
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
And I've done 18 different speaking engagements so far. And tomorrow I have another one. And so I've been doing a lot, but I get paid for those. I've been paid up to $5,000 for 30 minutes.
I'm lucky to have her here. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Don't worry, I paid her almost $200,000 as well.
Amen.
So.
Amen. I've been paid $5,000 for a 30-minute speaking gig. So obviously they're not all that big,
yes,
but
at least it combines when you have this
exactly. That's one of my main revenue generators for my business. I also have my accountability group. So that is my membership where every single person pays to be part of my community. We have lessons twice a month where I will teach them about different topics. This month we're talking about investing, and we also had my accountant come in and talk to them about accounting, about taxes. So they all pay $44 US dollars per month to join the group.
Wow.
There are about 173 of them right now. So you can, it's been a great revenue generator as well. And what else do I have? I also have AdSense for my YouTube channel. So because I'm in that partner program that I mentioned earlier, every single month I get a paycheck from YouTube, and I have for the past 5 years, or ever since I got monetized on YouTube. And even if I don't post for some time, the videos that I made 2 years ago
make some of the videos.
Exactly.
Now.
So it's been really good. I would say those are my main generators. I'm probably missing some.
I think that's a lot because everything you mentioned now, apart from I know about some of the brand deals as well because you put it on your social media. A lot of my listeners, a lot of people that might be, walking their dog now, or they're sitting in front of their TV watching this YouTube video, they might not know that this is possible.
Yeah.
And I like that, you're being able to talk about what I didn't actually mention, but will be very important to the listener. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I like to know, because I know we definitely be rounding up now, I want to really thank you so much again for being here. But people ask me if I'm not in real estate. I used to work in IT before, and they ask me if you're not in IT, if you don't do real estate now, which is what I've been doing for over 4 years as an investor, as helping people to buy and sell. What do you think you would have been? And I always tell them I would have been a chef because I love cooking. She knows that.
Wow, lucky you.
What do you think you would have been if you're not doing everything around teaching people about finances, about content creation? What do you think you could have kind of pursued, and do you think you would have been successful in that as well? Like something you just love to do?
So I would be doing probably marketing.
Okay.
So that's what I was doing before I got into content creation, where I was working in marketing, but within wealth management. So I was helping investment advisors build their individual businesses and creating marketing plans and strategies for them. So that's what I was doing. And I did enjoy it until I didn't enjoy it anymore, until the workload got overwhelming because they weren't replacing people. But yeah.
So you think you would have loved to do, if you didn't get like into content creation, that would have been what you continue to do?
Yeah, because I was still technically creating content just for a big brand, BMO. So I think I would still be doing, like, it was still very creative and it engaged my creative side. And every single year I would get promoted or get a new job. So I probably would still be in that field, maybe working at a fintech at this point, doing marketing for them. So I think that's what I would do. But I do really enjoy teaching people, like education. But I just knew that the teacher salary is not what I want. So it would have to be...
What about starting your own university? Let's go big.
Seems like a lot to do, but maybe an online university.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, honestly, I think you already have online university.
Yeah, true. Actually, though.
You should call it Reni University, right? You already have that. Like I told you, I watch your content, and you can't even imagine how much I've learned from what you produce there.
Thank you.
I might not be one of the people that will comment. I comment a few times, obviously, but what you put out there, it's really impactful and have a lot of value to not only me, I think probably thousands or maybe millions of people watching you on all the platforms. I saw your Twitter profile as well. Yeah. Just let you know that I actually follow you. And the kind of thing you put out there, people need to watch it. So I know you're very strong on Instagram. If you want to mention your Instagram or your YouTube, people will definitely watch it because there are things you have there that will change their life, will change their career, will change their business, but their perspective about life.
Thank you.
So I employ any of my listeners listening to this, please follow Reni.
Shameless plug. Yeah. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all the platforms, YouTube at XO Reni. And then I also have a podcast called Don't Go Broke Trying.
Yes. I'm expecting you to invite me to the podcast.
Yes. And on my podcast, I teach people how to not go broke trying to live their best life. So I do that by interviewing other people. Typically, I've been doing a lot of solo episodes recently, but I will be interviewing people again soon. Okay. And I basically interview them about how they've gone broke sometimes or how they help other people to not go broke. So don't go broke trying to get a credit card. Don't go broke trying to get a mortgage. Don't go broke trying to buy your first house. Those are the types of topics that I've spoken about. And I feel like it helps a lot of people because you're learning from other people's mistakes.
Yes.
Right?
And I think you've brought one of she's my number one mortgage broker.
Oh, Dami. Yeah.
She's one of my greatest friends, and she I think I told her yesterday we were working on a deal, and I'm like, Dami, my head is spinning now on this deal, and I need to speak with Reni tomorrow. Like, oh, Reni. I said, of course I know. Yeah. I think I might have actually watched your YouTube video, but I get to know more about you on the podcast you did with. No, I've get to know you before Dami, but when I saw Dami as well on your podcast,
and she's also in my accountability group as well.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. You have a very strong network of people working with you, and I think the next person I want on my podcast from your family is your dad.
Yes, and he just launched his page, Bade the Finance Dad, right? So it's been 2 months. Wow. He's at like 6,000 followers at this point. So
yeah, I see that.
I'm sure he would love to do his first podcast outside of my podcast.
I will definitely bring him on. I'm glad you're here now, and getting to know you in person now. Apart from watching what you've done online, I'm happy you're here. Obviously, I paid you $200,000, as I said before you came to this podcast. Mm-hmm. That was a joke. I appreciate your time. Like I feel like when I see the kind of work you do there and how many brands you work with, having you here is like a blessing for my audience. So thank you so much, Reni, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
All right.